Welcome to season 19 of the Productized Podcast. I'm Pedro Ganço, and I'll be your host for today's episode. This season, we're all about create change together with Productized 2025, where we explore how product leaders, innovators, and change makers can drive real, lasting impact across teams, industries, and communities. Today, I'm excited to welcome Mustafa, a seasoned product leader and AI expert. Welcome, Mustafa. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing great, Pedro. Thank you for having me. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
It's our pleasure. And for the benefit of our audience that they may not know you, I want your help to introduce you because you've been doing so much. Like when checking your profile, I saw that you have been leading product teams, companies like Google, IBM, many other AI startups. You're also the managing director of EchoPoint.
Yeah.
Very well, product managers use AI how to enhance their own jobs. And you're also the host of the Masters in Product podcasts. Am I missing anything?
No, this is good. It's a good place to start.
Okay. And for sure, the thing that I saw the most, it was AI. So
Yeah.
you're really passionate about it.
Very.
And I feel that we can use the entire podcast just before we were talking. And it's like, yeah, we can focus. There's so much for us to go through it that we'll focus on AI for product managers today. And before I dive in, I just have like a couple of icebreaker questions. And there you go. So what I want to know is if you look right now at your ChatGPT, what was the last thing that you've asked it?
That's too many. The problem is I have ChatGPT, I have Claude, I have a whole bunch of things. So you know what we're gonna do? This is real time.
Let's go.
Let's see what I asked last time.
You're talking more with the machine than humans right now.
Yeah, that's unfortunately or fortunately, that depends on how you look at it. Right. So I'll tell you, just this morning, I am actually doing I'm doing a first ever benchmarking study. I think your audience is going to like this. A first ever benchmarking study on how product managers are using AI in companies. And my goal by the end of the summer is to interview 101 CPOs. And so far, I've interviewed 35 CPOs. And so I was using ChatGPT to take a look at all of their interviews and data to figure out what are some of the key themes that came out of it.
Very
Right.
interesting.
And so I use AI for basically everything. I start every task with an AI. I actually, then I do I have a whole process around it, and then I end with AI. So I love using it for analysis. And so I was looking at it actually before we got started. I was just looking at the data to see what is the early trends that I see for those 35 CPOs. And then how can I get 101? If in your audience, you actually have product leaders who lead any kind of teams and they're looking to do some benchmarking, shoot me an email at the end of this. I would love to incorporate you guys in the benchmark.
That's super interesting, and I probably will go deep later in this episode. But
Yes,
just two
you
more
should.
questions for this
I
quick.
will literally share you real-time data of what I'm looking.
Another question I have for you: how would you feel going back to work if you could no longer use AI ever again? No one in the world
That's a tough
would
one.
use AI.
I don't know. Forget about work. I don't know how I could live. You talk about. I was just looking at my list, right? So not only did I do this, but before that, we just came from our family just went to a vacation, right? We just came back. And I did the entire trip planning on AI. I have 3 boys. I love them to death. They're 16, 14, and 11, but they're very picky eaters. And so I literally put down in AI where we're going to be in the location of the city, what are their food likes, what do they like doing, and then it spit out a whole itinerary for me, right? And it was granular. Like I said, okay, at 9 a.m., which by the way, nobody wakes up at 9 a.m. 9 a.m., you do this. Here's the places that you can go eat. Here's what you can do in the afternoon. Here's the place that you can go in the evening. And then I just riff off that. I'm like, okay, give me 3 more
You just
options.
can't go any more custom than that, right?
Yeah.
Like
And
super
so,
tailored to you.
yeah. The idea, and by the way, don't tell this to my wife. Well, she's not going to listen to our podcast, but it used to be that my wife was the master planner for all our vacations. And now that she knows that I use AI, she hates it. She's like,
I actually have some question for you later down this episode about the consequences of AI. There's actually some
so you
people
asked me
saying
the
that
question, what would it be like if I go to work without AI? I think the question is like, what would it be like if I didn't have AI in my life and I don't know what I would.
Yeah, you cannot go back, right?
No, it's impossible. It's like asking somebody, what would you do if you could never use a mobile phone again? Right? It's just impossible. Our lives have changed. For better or for worse, we can talk about that in our episode.
We're still in the bubble. Not that many people still use it as much as these top 1% players in AI use it, but we'll talk about it as well. And just for me to know where you are in this scale, is AI enabling superhumans or creating a super AI that will eventually destroy humans?
Oh, definitely on the first part, the superhuman part, right? The more I use AI, the more I realize how much it can enhance humans to be more human. This idea about all generating superhuman AI stuff, I don't see it. I understand science fiction because that's where we're getting this from, right? A lot of our analogies are based on movies that we've seen. But when you use AI like I do on a daily basis, forget daily, hourly basis, you realize how much it can actually help you be more you. I had a, like you said, I do a podcast and I was talking to a VP of product at PayPal and we had the same conversation. And I'm like, look, AI helps you be more you because what it does is that, like anything else, we have a lot of tasks, either as a person or as a product person, right? Some we enjoy, some we don't enjoy, right? AI can help us do all the things that we don't enjoy much faster. But the things that we do enjoy, it can actually enhance that process. So to me, to coming back to your original question, is I think it is going to make us more superhuman, which is why I always talk about AI empowered product teams as opposed to AI powered product teams. And I know it sounds weird with that little edge or a little change in words, because I do think of it as empowerment as opposed to being powered by AI. Because powered by AI looks like it's an AI battery stuck into a robot. The visual doesn't work for me.
You still put the human in the role play at the center of the
100%. And I think that we're going through the shift in which we are now doing what is AI optimized and human optimized. And so I think AI human or human AI synergy is actually very important. And we can talk about some practical examples of that too, because I do think that there are some things that AI is better than human. But when it comes to making key critical decisions, you know what? I'll give you an example. It's much easier to talk about examples as opposed to talking about it hypothetically.
Theoretically, yeah. Let's go for a practical.
So, as a product manager, one of the things that you have to do is just come up with different type of solutions or brainstorming ideas about what you want to. You have a customer problem, right? You're like, how can I solve it? And as humans, we can come up with probably 4 or 5 options. If you get a team together, maybe you can come up with 20 options. And by the way, most of those options are based on past experiences, right? Either we saw something or we like something. And so we have all these personal biases built.
That's why you need to brainstorm with other people to bring external factors.
So how do we do it as humans? Right now, we have this great concept called design thinking. I love design thinking, in which we have this whole process in which we help people break through their personal biases and come up with not just 5 options or 10 options, but 20 options or 30 options or 40 options, right? Which is why diversity is such a big part and a huge part of when I was at IBM, I brought in design thinking. When we were at Google, it's actually the bread and butter at Google. With AI, it can come up with hundreds of options in less than a few minutes.
That's probably the use case I use the most personally. Whenever I want to unblock myself, it's like, I'm thinking about this, just give me 10 ideas on how to approach it.
That's what AI is good at. And I guarantee you, and you tell me about your personal experience as well. What AI is not good at is of the 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50 options, which one would you pick? Right?
That's where you feel the humans are still.
Yes. And so AI can never come up with that one right answer. So when I talk to my clients, when I talk to my PMs, I say AI is great at giving you lots of options. But will it give you the one right answer? No. So you can come up with a list of features.
Is it probably because it lacks the context? Because you know the right answers, you saw 20, and you immediately resonate with a couple of them because you have so much more context on the problem.
Yes.
There's actually something that I personally feel that when I'm prompting with ChatGPT, just discussing ideas, I often feel, let me give you just a spit of a few paragraphs on context. This is what I'm doing. This is what I've already done. This is what I'm fighting for. This is what I don't know. This is what I know. I often give the AI a ton of context and I feel the results
Much better.
much better. Yeah.
Yes. So there's a way that you can actually give more context. And I actually have a framework, and we can talk about that too, in which you can give it great context, in which it will give you really relevant ideas. But even if it gives you relevant ideas, you still have to pick, right? So yes, AI give you 50 ideas. Maybe 50 ideas were generic. Now the way you ask questions, which by the way is a very important part of my philosophy with using AI, even if you ask questions in the right way with the right amount of context, it will still give you 50 relevant ideas or 20 relevant ideas. You still have to pick one or two or three that you choose, right? That decision making is very human. I don't think AI can act. My experience, by the way, my life experience and your life experience, Pedro, I don't think so you can actually bubble that into an AI, or at least not yet. You can use simulation, and we can talk about simulated users, but that ability to generate ideas, which is very hard for humans, but we're very good at picking what we want and what we don't want. And the example I'm going to use is I'm going to go back to my kids. When I give them a menu of things, they can look at the 10 things that are on the menu and they can say, I like this one and this one. But if I ask them what they want to eat,
That's a good example.
it's like, oh my God. I'm like, Chinese, sushi. I'm like, don't do sushi. It's too expensive. So Chinese, Thai, or whatever else it is, we get a whole bunch of things. But when you give them an idea, when you give them a list of things and you say, pick one or two, they're very good at doing that because they are, as humans, we are very good at picking the two or three
What you
things that are
like and
relevant
what
to
you're
us,
inclined to do.
right? And I don't think so AI is going to get there anytime soon. Now, you know, we're recording this in 2025, 10 years from now, we might have a very different opinion. But as of right now, I don't see it. So,
See it coming anytime soon.
yeah.
And that, not for the benefit of our audience. Any junior PM, aspiring PMs wanting to onboard on this AI, most people probably are just using ChatGPT to scan emails. Hey, fine tune this reply. How are they missing out? What do you feel
Boy,
if you were an aspiring PM and you feel like, yeah, I feel I can improve my craft a lot. I
yeah,
just don't know where to start.
yeah.
Help me define a good prompting, a good framework for me to work with ChatGPT. How would you start?
Please, I get this question all the time. So, and by the way, there's data around it too. So, talking about that benchmarking study, when I look at it, most use cases that PMs use AI for is answering emails, summarizing documents, and maybe some light brainstorming, right? To me, when I see it, I pull my hair out, and I don't actually have a lot of hair. Uh, for people on Spotify, you can't see this, but you know, believe me, I don't have a lot of hair. That to me is like using a Ferrari and using it like a paperweight. I mean, it is just, you're not using AI to the full extent. So, what do? I think that the first thing is, let me tell you the difference between how the top 1% PMs use AI versus rest, right? And then we can go into what junior PMs can do, right? I think fundamentally, number one is the top 1% use AI for everything. It's not just about emails or communication or summarization. Almost every task that you can think of as a product manager, there's a role of AI that can help you in that thing. You think about a task, and there's a way to do it, and we can actually show some examples as well. But across
Feel
the
free
entire,
to share the screen anytime you want to share some of these practical examples so that
yeah,
people that may be listening to us on YouTube may get some takeaway on it.
yes, I'm happy to do that. So number one is how is the breadth of using AI, right? The second is how you use AI. So most people, like you said, is start asking a question to AI. It's a simple question. Maybe it's 2 lines, maybe 3 lines. That's not going to give you great results. But the way you the way you ask questions, which is technical term is prompting, which by the way is it's just English. It's just the way you ask. How you ask questions matter. Which AI you use matters. The process that you have, the approach that you use matters. And I'll give you an example of that. So thank you for allowing me to screen share. I'll share all of this with you because it'll make more sense when we do it.
Mm-hmm.
The approach matters. And then the last one is really a mindset piece. And the mindset piece, in my opinion, is the most important part. And that's what we kind of touched on earlier, is that the best PMs that I know of have an innate understanding because they use it so much about what AI can do and what it cannot do. And where's the human optimization and AI optimization, right? And so to me, those three things really separate the best PMs versus the rest, right? Like I said, everything makes more sense when it makes it more practical, right? Let me just open up
First
my
is
screen.
even I being working for more than 10 years, I feel I'm junior in AI, and I after just these last, I don't know, 6 months, I started improving my craft on AI as well. Because I was on the same ballpark that you were saying, just 2 lines of questioning. Then I started understanding, oh, maybe I can define a role. You are an expert designer. Give me
Yeah,
an opinion on something. You are an
exactly.
expert legal lawyer, and that
And it
changed
makes such a
drastically
big
the.
difference, right, Pedro? I mean, I'm telling you, just those little things that you can do make such a big difference in the quality response. And the quality response is important because that means that AI is doing more of the heavy lifting, right? You want AI to do the most work so you can get the most value out of the LMs. And then you bring in the critical human element that the AI can never bring. And to me, that's that third part is the human AI optimization.
I would say
Inspired, educational,
overwhelming, very practical,
challenging,
thought-provoking,
meaningful,
enthusiastic.
nice people, innovation.
and fun.
Product growth mindset.
New connections.
Join us at the coolest product management environment this October in Lisbon.
So I'm going to do a quick walkthrough. And by the way, Pedro, I geek out on this stuff, so tell me to slow down for stuff. But I'm going to go through a very simple workflow, and let's do a few steps. The first one is I'm just going to use AI to help us find the right problem to solve, which, by the way, you know this as well as I do. For product managers, finding the right problem to solve is probably the most critical skill that, in my opinion, junior PMs sometimes lack, right? Like, how do you know what is worth solving? So let's use AI to do that. And then we can go through some multiple permutations. So I'm going to use a very simple example of a bank. Let me see if I have it open. You can see my screen, yes?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. There you go. So I just downloaded this. This is a fictitious bank. I went into Apple reviews, and I just downloaded or I created a bunch of reviews in it, and you can see that you have the date, you have the title, you have the content or the reviews, and they have the names, and they give you a rating. So I'm going to use AI to actually first analyze this, and it's going to tell us what problem is worth solving. So let's just do that. And I'm going to do multiple things, and then I'll explain what I'm doing. So first things first is I'm just going to upload that file. And since we're doing this real time, chances are things are always going to break.
Of course.
But that's where
And for people that don't
fun is.
know what tool you are using, this is Claude AI.
This is Claude, and that's a very good point. In fact, we are using Claude for a very specific reason and not ChatGPT for this, because Claude, in my opinion, is much better at synthesizing large data than ChatGPT is. And the difference is closing. So there used to be a point at which I would use Claude exclusively for analysis. Now I actually use both.
Okay.
But I'm
Correct me if
using
I'm wrong,
Claude.
but you can only analyze documentation with a paid account, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
The
Roughly
other thing I'm
20
going
euros
to
a
do,
month.
yes. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into a container. For this piece, the PM, I've given her a persona. Her name is Anna. And I'm going to do an Anna digital profile. Yes. So I've done two things. I've uploaded the document, and I've created a digital profile for Anna. And that's going to be important in the second step. Then I actually have this playbook. And you know how I talked about how AI can use, you can use AI for a whole bunch of different things? I mean, here are all the tasks that I use AI for, right? You name it.
For people just listening to us, not watching us on YouTube,
Yes.
you can ideate, you can brainstorm, you can prioritize features, you can generate product summaries,
You
generate
name it.
problem
You
statements.
can
And
go
this is just the
all the way.
ideation phase.
Yeah, that's just ideation. So then we have validation. You can create personas. You can brainstorm jobs to be done. And by the way, I'm just picking a few of them. I think I probably have close to 200 tasks in here. And that's, by the way, just skimming the surface. Creating user journeys, synthesizing. Actually, we're going to use this one. We're going to use synthesized user feedback. Let me go find it. And let me go through this list. So UX, UI, you can do a lot with it. You can do build, generate user stories, Negative acceptance criteria. I don't know about you, Pedro, but my team always had a hard time coming up with negative and edge cases. AI can do it in minutes. I have it analyzing PRDs. I have it creating test data. The test data that you just saw, by the way, for the Acme Bank, I use AI to create test data, just for this. Go to market research, you name it. We're going to leverage
Do you
something
have
called synthetic
specific
user.
prompts for each of these
I do.
product managers tasks?
Yes. So let's go to each one of them. So we're going to use synthesize user research. So there you go. And so I have a task, or I have a prompt for this. And the way I write my prompts, I write them in a very specific order. I have what I call the 5 keys. And I talk about it. And by the way, people on Spotify, if you can go on and see the video, that's great, but I'm going to try my best to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
I have 5 keys. The first key is you assign a role, just like what you talked about, right? So you're the most experienced person building products, act like an expert in synthesizing user feedback, which is what the task we're going to do. Second is what's the input? What's the context that we're doing? What is the context that we're giving them? Third is instructions. And instructions, in my opinion, is your golden ticket. Like, what do you do with this data? So you've assigned it a role, you've given it a file. What do you do with that? And you can see from this piece is I don't just say, please analyze the feedback, right? I actually go in and I've actually put in best practices and some of the things that I want to see AI do for me, in which I've said that use a structured methodology of sorting and analyzing feedback, make sure it's complete, make sure that you're only pulling data from the files, mitigate biases, influences. So I'm giving very specific instructions to AI what to do.
Like you had a human intern that has no context on the company. They just got into the company and you need to tell, this is what I want you to do exactly.
Exactly. And by the way, that analogy, Pedro, is perfect because that's the way I think about AI as well, is that it is basically an intern that I have to tell exactly what to do, again, so that they will give me exactly what I want, right? And then I give it a format. I tell them, what do I want? Positive feedback, negative feedback. How do I want it formatted? So in this one, I wanted a summary of it, and that's only 60 characters long. You can make it 120 characters. You can make it as big as you want. I wanted to do mentions, how many times is mentioned. I want quotes, I want summaries. And so I ask a question in a very specific way, and I'll tell you why. Let's just see what that looks like, right? So now I have this playbook that I have. I don't have to write this prompt again because I write it once and I keep reusing it, which is also when we talk about structure and process, makes a huge difference.
Like you
And
said, the
now-
mindset of embedding AI within your product management tasks rather than
Exactly.
just keep asking ad hoc questions.
And so now this one, if you actually had just said, please do an analysis on this data, you would have never gotten to this level of detail. But here you can tell positive feedback. It tells me what are the positive feedbacks and how many people said that. It gives me negative feedback. It gives me most features requested. It gives me who are my competitors mentioned. It gives me a summary, and it gives me most notable quotes. And so I have just done what used to usually take PMs a week or 2 weeks, maybe with a data scientist team. And because
That's exactly right. That I did that job before.
Yes.
It was a pain to just process all the data in Excel and sometimes even manually trying to figure out, is this good or bad? Or I had to do this before.
Pedro, I'm gonna geek out on you because you told me that you did this job again. So I'll tell you. Tell me, my team, when I used to manage these teams, you know how long it would take them to clean up this data? Like you had all these weird things, like you have ampersigns and percentages, and you had these weird, dollar signs in the middle of something. By the way, we didn't do any data cleaning, right? It is just data that I've given. You can tell that I remember this. Oh God, I remember this time when I was at IBM. We had somebody who spent days just cleaning data.
Yeah, that's
They can
usually
feed it to the data scientist team.
There's some memes talking about the time data scientists spend is like 90% just cleaning
Yeah.
data and
And then
categorization.
it was just, and so what we did was and the reason why I created test data this way, because I wanted to show people that you don't have to worry about cleaning data anymore. That saves you a lot of time. And then it gives you analysis that you might have missed. And so
Yeah,
now you
this
can
is
go
actually
in.
life-changing. This is life-changing because When I was doing some research on you before we went in this podcast, I actually saw one conversation that you had with a guest of yours. It's like saying, just storing these prompts, like taking the time to invest in writing your own playbook is where you differentiate the 1% PMs, that the ones that just ask the questions.
100%. And so when I talked to you about earlier is that, that number two is how they use AI is very different. Having a playbook like this it's a game changer, right? I spend time writing prompt once and I write it in a very specific fashion so I can get high quality responses. But then I can use it again and again and again, which saves me tremendous amount of time. And by the way, tomorrow, Pedro, you come back to me. Maybe you don't want me on back tomorrow. But tomorrow you come back to me and says, you know what, I want to change this from Acme Bank to, I don't know, Google Calendar or
you change the
Microsoft
source
Outlook.
file, you just change
change
the source file, the prompt is done, and it's a 1-minute task.
There you go. So I can use this again and again and again, right?
Now I feel how I am personally missing out on this. Just not taking the time to create and craft my own playbook.
Yes.
With the prompts that I use most
I
often.
have, for you and for your listeners, if you go to my Substack, I share everything about how to write a well-structured prompt, right? This prompt that you have that I see here is actually in my, so I have a mini playbook that you guys can download for free.
Where can people find it? Just search for Mustafa.
Substack, yeah. Actually, sorry, just do echo-point.com. If you go there, you'll see it. You'll see, I think a few days ago or a few weeks ago, I posted how to create a well-structured prompt. Just last night when I was doing the analysis, I actually posted about the benchmarking study. So there's a ton of information.
Just another add-on on what you just said, how to create a good prompt. Maybe also explore when you don't know how to create, ask ChatGPT how to create it. I had this one issue for this one client. We were creating something that would scrape the internet, and I wanted to find some things, but I want to do it like 100, 1,000, 1 million times, and I wanted the output to be more or less fixed, and I didn't properly know how to write it, how to be the output. So I asked it, I want this, just create a good prompt that will be fed to a LLM, and that it immediately decided that JSON format would be best for consistency on format, and I stick with it, and it was really, really good.
And by the way, that's a great use case. One of the other use cases I have in the playbook is how do you take a prompt that you currently have and how to make it better. Or you can also do a reverse engineering, which is I do, is sometimes you go through these long chats and it gives you exactly what you want. And I'm like, oh, how do I replicate that?
That's a good one.
And so then you go back and say, I want to get exactly this type of output. Can you please write a well-structured prompt? And I always use my 5 keys as my framework.
So the 5 keys are, you define the role, you define the input, the instructions, the format.
The format, and an example.
Example, okay, good.
Right? So what does good look like is key. I'm going to do one more thing, Pedro, because I think this is going to actually help.
Go ahead, this is gold. This is gold.
Right? One of the hardest things that I had when I was running teams or product teams is that my PMs did not know what problem to work on. So even if you can come up with this, how do I know if it's aligned to my OKRs? I want my team, at least at Google, everything was OKR based. At IBM, we had KPIs, but at Google, we had OKRs. I wanted to make sure that everybody in my team is working on the OKRs that is going to make a difference and going to drive an impact. And it would kill me when I heard that good PMs were working on problems that were great problems to solve, but not aligned to the OKRs. And I'm like, we just wasted weeks, right? So with AI, you can now, as a junior PM, know that you're working on not just the right problem, but also making sure that it's aligned with your management's OKR. So let's take this one. So let's just say that let's pick one. You know what? Poor navigation. We're going to just continue with this one. So I am a junior PM, or Anna is a junior PM. And I'm going to say, I like to solve this problem. And for our friends in Spotify, all I'm doing is I'm doing a quick follow-up chat with the AI and say, I'd like to solve the problem. And I copy the poor navigation issue that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say, is this aligned with my team's OKRs? Now, I have actually trained this AI on my organization. I know I have trained the AI on what the OKRs are, what my product is, what my team member is, and so on and so forth. So now it's actually doing a search and saying, if you solve this, is this going to work or not? And you can see this is what happens, right? Claude is hung up, which is kind of weird. It should have given us an answer already.
Usually it's fast.
Yes. Yeah. So they need to spend more dollars on GPUs. That's the problem. So you can see that how it comes back to you and says, you know what? This problem about user interface is aligned with OKR number 1 and OKR number 5.
Do you have any rule to make it be straightforward? Because I also feel that when I'm talking with ChatGPT or Claude or any other AI LLM, they tend to be like very pleasing to me. Like, yes, you are correct. They try to be very polite and I'm always correct. Sometimes I need to reprompt and say, tell me why I'm wrong, or like force a negative output.
So you actually bring up 2 issues, right? Number 1 is you wanted to test your limits, right? You wanted to be able to say, well, tell me which works, what doesn't work. So how about we test that right now, right? Of the following problems, and I'm just going to pick the first 5.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pick
Maybe that's the approach, because when we ask these LLMs, like, can I do this? They will like, yes, that's very good idea.
but I'm going to
But
show
if
the
you
negative,
pick
right?
okay,
So let's
okay.
do that. Of the following problems, which ones are not aligned with my OKRs or least aligned? So again, Pedro, it depends on how you ask the question,
Mm-hmm.
right? So here it goes. It tells you the least aligned problems are high fees and poor value proposition, not aligned at all. So don't even touch those.
Since you're expecting an output that tells you what is not aligned, Claude
Yes.
will give you. So we need to be careful with the questions we ask. If we say, is this good? Most often probably I will try to find a way to make you correct,
Yes.
unless you train it properly.
Yes. So that's why the question is important, because when you say good or bad, that's subjective.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say aligned and not aligned, that's
Against
much more
something else
objective.
that you already previously gave it.
Yes. Because AI doesn't know what good is, so it's going to try to make you happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But if
that's
you tell
super
it
correct.
AI or is aligned or not aligned, so notice how I didn't say, is this good or bad? I said, is it
Mm-hmm.
aligned or not aligned?
Yep.
And so you bring up a very important point, and I think this is a great nuance. I think this is where understanding the AI capabilities and what it can and cannot do is very important. And so this is the mindset piece that we talked about earlier, is to know what the limitations of LLM is and know where humans come in and where AI falls down. And so as humans, it's very easy for us to say good or bad. And so when we ask these nebulous questions, you're going to get an AI that 99% of the time is going to confer with whatever you said. But if I go in and be very specific and say, is it aligned or not aligned? That's a very different question. I'm going to go further, right? Let's go back to this one in which we say, okay, poor navigation. And then I'll stop my screen sharing because I'm sure we have more to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to work on this, which is a poor navigation issue. What is the best way to how do I convince Lisa? And Lisa, by the way, is Anna's boss. So again, I've trained the AI on not just the OKRs, but Anna's entire team structure.
And when you say train, for people listening to us, this is not some heavy machinery. When you say train, you just
No,
previously
sorry.
said to
Yeah.
Claude, Lisa is the CPO and her role is this. She runs this amount of teams. This is what you mean by train. It's just
That is correct. Yeah, that's correct.
it's just a simple prompt that we would just feed more
No,
information.
it's actually much more detailed. In fact, we can, if we have time, I can help. I can go through it as well. But it's much more detailed than just saying Lisa is a CPO. But it's Lisa, her characteristics, the way she makes decisions, what is important to her, what is not important to her.
You really
all of that
define
is fed
Lisa as a
into,
persona, what she values.
yeah, all of that is fed into AI, just like in OKRs are. And so there you go. And so this is a great way. So again, if you're a junior PM and you have not had a chance to talk to a VP before or CPO before, you can use AI like this one to say, how do I level up to be able to go talk to my boss, Lisa? And so I look like I know what the hell I'm doing, right? And so you can go in and it will give you a whole bunch of ways to talk to her. You can say, it can help you write emails and so on and so forth, right? So there's a lot you can do. Let me open up. Do you want to look at what the profile, I call it training, but the context that I put it in?
Give it one example of what you mean. I trained on Lisa, I trained on the OKRs. What do you mean by this? You feed it into a document where you list everything?
So this is a document right there. And it's I don't know how long it is, but let's see if it shows up. Come on, there you go. So I've trained it, or I've given a context on the organization, the product overview, the role, so Anna's role itself, the team structure, right? I have also given AI information about my year-end reviews, so it knows what are the things that I need to work.
That's perfect.
Right? I've given it OKRs, and I've given it product management processes. And this is a fairly, it's not short. I mean, there's a lot of context in here. But again, this is one of those, you create a digital profile of yourself that will then help you figure out.
You create a digital twin of the organization, of you, of everyone, and you just start prompting virtually what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly.
I love it.
And by the way, you can take this, and by the way, create digital twins of your users as well. So I call them synthetic users. And so you think about it as a digital twin of your organization, a digital twin of your users, a digital twin of your competitors. And so now you can
want to
use
expand
AI.
a little bit on it? What is these synthetic users? I've stumbled upon it. There's some rule for PMs that you need to talk with the user. Now we're also bringing synthetic users. Like even before you talk with users, you can kind of simulate what issues you're going to find.
So a synthetic user is basically a digital clone of your real user, right? Now that doesn't mean that you don't talk to one. It just means that there are some times in which if you run into a problem, or we can go back to the old use case in which of the 5 things that you want to solve in, one of the things you looked at is aligned to my company OKRs. The other way you can ask that question is, of the synthetic users that I have, which one of this will resonate the most, right? So now you're bringing in different lenses of OKRs and companies and Lisa and your user, and now you have a much, much richer context of making decisions. But I can show an example of a synthetic user as well.
Again, I just want to wrap up this section so that people get all the nugget of info that you just provided. So I am a junior PM. The first thing I could do when entering a job, I start listing my tasks. What do I actually need to do on my day-to-day? I need to create these user stories, these PRDs. I need to prioritize. I need to come up with ideas. I need to process data to check feedback to what we're going to do. I need to discuss with my boss. So start listing the actual tasks that you need to do and start opening a playbook. That would be probably number 7.
Yeah.
Then start crafting the prompts with the help of AI and follow the process of define the role for the prompt. Like, you are an expert in developing products at digital companies, in working for banks, industries. You define the role.
Yep.
You define the input, what you're going to feed this prompt, the instructions, what you need to do with the data, input it. You define the format you're expecting it to receive, and you provide a clear example.
Yes.
This may take a few moments, but then you're set for the 1% PM if you follow this rule.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm just going to put it up here if people are interested, because I personally think the way you ask questions is so important. If you go here, and it's actually one of my most popular articles, is the ultimate AI prompt framework. And what you just shared with you, which is the 5 keys, is right here. In this, I tell you not only what to do, but why it works, which is just as important. Because why it works helps you understand how AI and LLMs work. So assign it a role, provide the right input, just like you said, give specific instructions, specify the format, provide examples, and then you can. And by the way, I get in this, if you're watching this, you can try both. You can try a simple prompt, which is what most people do, and then you can try a well-structured prompt, and you can then yourself compare which one gives you a better result or not. In fact, I ran that test. By the way, Anna, just to let you guys know, is a real person. I've just changed her name. And this is Anna's result when I first started doing these things. I'm trying to figure out what is the right way to ask questions. Trust me, the well-structured prompt was not something I just created. It's taken me months and years to come up with something. And so this was Anna's first, when we ran it with Anna, who's a real person, you look at side-by-side comparison with a simple question and a well-structured question. Is number one is simple question. It gives you broad, generic responses. Well-structured is highly detailed, user-centric. Relevancy, because we asked for 10 ideas. Simple questions give you three ideas that are relevant. Well-structured gives you 8 ideas that are relevant. Well-structured does not mean that all 100% of the ideas are going to work. It's just that they're more relevant, right?
Just increase the odds of success.
Yes. Anything that's new and interesting, well-structured prompt gave you 4 new things that you had never thought about. And here's the kicker, the last one is the time saved. Because when you ask a simple question, you, Pedro, still have to go do the work of coming up with a final response. If you do a well-structured prompt, AI is doing 80% of the work, and then you're doing the other 20% in which you're just refining, you're picking, you're wordsmithing, and you're ready to go. And so that
this is
saves
where
you 10
I feel
hours.
we both differ. I'm on the 1 to 2 hours saved, and you are on the 10 hours. Because I'm using ChatGPT a lot, and Claude, and many other tools. But I do spend a lot of time creating the prompts every time I run into a problem. And you're the 1% PM that you already have your playbook created. You've gone through this issue, just identify, oh, this is clearly market research on customer data. This is the prompt, boom. You got the results, and much better than me because you thought about the prompt for a while. You crafted it. Yeah, that's where
and
we
so
differ.
It makes a difference in the front end, like we talked about, and makes a difference in back end. Because if you're getting 8 good ideas, that means your picking becomes easier, right? If you have 3 good ideas, then you still have to play around and spar with the AI to get to a good pot of ideas. But if you get a good set of 8 ideas in the very get-go, then you're saving massive amount of time by doing that. And so when I think about junior PMs versus the top 1%, it really comes down to time savings, and I haven't put this down, but velocity. Velocity changes. And by the way, the most important metric is that your VP is happier, because you are now giving her or him ideas that they may never have thought about. And so now you're setting yourself up to differentiate yourself from the rest of the team. And so there's a ton of stuff that we've talked about here. I'm going to tell you the one thing, the one absolute thing that I will tell you if you're getting into AI right now is learn these skills now. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you're good at AI, you're going to be ahead of the curve. You're going to be ahead of 99% of your fellow PMs out there who will help you differentiate and accelerate your career. If you wait for 2 years, you'll be at the curve, because we're at a point in time. I talk to CPOs every day. Each and every one of them is trying to figure out how they can level up their teams so they can be more productive and be more effective. So you wait for 2 years, you'll be at the curve. So you'll be there with all the other PMs who are doing the same thing as you are. And so there's no differentiation. Because by the way, I'm teaching this to whoever wants to listen. 99% of my content is free and available on the website, and people can go there, can learn it. I have examples, I have prompts, I have playbooks, I have the whole approach. Everything's out there. If you wait 4 years, you're going to be behind the curve. You don't want to be behind the curve. I recommend to being in front of the curve or at the curve the least, but never behind, right? And so forget about everything that we talked about. If you don't remember, well, I shouldn't say forget about everything you talked about, but if there's one key takeaway, is that you need to get better at using AI.
And I feel there's these 3 maturity steps that I understand listening to you now. One is, do you use or not? And probably people start using it ad hoc. Summarize email, summarize documents. Give me grammar correction on this text. This is initial stage. You just start using it, the tools. Then is where I probably feel I am. I understand how to prompt. I understand that I can ask me 5 questions on this prompt to get the better. And I started learning a few ways to improve my odds of success. So I'm in this stage that I know how to prompt a little bit better, make good questions.
Yes.
But you're just now showing us that this is a whole other level, which is when you put it in the process. Like, what do I do?
Whole structure.
Create
right?
processes.
Yeah. And by
Embed
the
this
way,
in my life, embed this in my work, create a process.
Yes.
And this is where
You
the
are
time
talking
savings
about a whole, when I talk about process, and I'm sure I have an article here, I can't remember which one, but you start off with a well-structured prompt. So what you just talked about right now, right? So that's part 1. Part 2 is knowing which LLMs to go for. I go OpenAI for certain things. I go ChatGPT. I go for Claude for certain things. I use Gemini for certain things. I use Perplexity for certain things. So knowing that is very important, right?
Mhm.
So I think that is a second level of skill. And by the way, that skill goes through, the more you know the nuances of each one of the large language models, the better you'll know about which one to use. So that's number 2. Number 3 is the playbook that we just talked about, is to have a playbook so that everything's repeatable, right? We haven't talked about this, but number 4 is I have a framework of how to evaluate a response to know if it's a good response or not. And so I have a 7-point litmus test that we go through, in which I say, when I take a look at the response, listen, Pedro, I've been doing this so much that when I take a look at the response, I know right away that I'm actually getting the most out of AI, or I can actually push it even further, right? And so you want to get to that point. So there's a 7-point litmus test that I take my PMs through and say, every time you look at a response, you want to look at these 7 points to see if you can squeeze more juice out of AI or not.
I think we need to create a master class where we just condense some of the nuggets that you just shared, practical master class that we can run. Because this could be a whole 2 days topic that we can just keep talking about.
Trust me, I mean, these kind of things are...
But I still want to know your opinion on two other questions.
Yeah.
So maybe we can stop now the
Sorry.
screen sharing.
Yeah.
And I want to get your views on 2 particular topics. One is agentic AI, because it's not only prompting, it's not only talking to a machine that knows how to spit very good text. And if you make it right, the output is actually good. But there's something new coming, which is agents that people need to know and be aware of how to use them. And the last question that I'll ask you is about some of the more ethical concerns, risks you see or don't see that may happen down the line. More on the future of AI for products, what impact it will have on jobs or not.
Yeah.
So we will wrap up on that section. But first, agents AI.
Let's talk about agents. I think agents are awesome. I think there's a lot of hype of agents right now. And I
What
think
is an agent AI?
I'm sorry?
What is an agent AI?
What's an agent? In the most simplest terms, it is actually AI running a task for you. So for example, right now, a very simple example of agentic AI is a GPT. Are you familiar with GPTs? GPTs are basically the prompt playbook that I shared with you. It is a digital version of that, or an online version of it. And I can show an example of that because if it's easier. So that's a very simple way. But an agent is really, you provide instructions to AI and it will follow and do a certain task for you as per your instructions. That's it.
The other day I discovered this one website called Manus, MANUS.im. And it's just a browser-based agent that you can say, hey, every other day on 10 a.m., just give me the summary of the football news on my country.
Yes.
Something like that. Or
so to me, that is, so there's different levels of agents, right? So a GPT is a very simple, what I call level 1 agent, in which the instructions that we just did, you can actually code it into the GPT, and then you press one button and it just does it. So instead of you and I spending time writing the prompt, putting it into the chat box, it's all built in. So you say, run this prompt, and that's GPT. Very simple. When you think about Manus is what I call level 2. And level 2 is, and there's two types of level 2. One of the things what you talked about is AI with orchestration, right? So Manus is a perfect example, right? You say at 9 a.m., scrape this website and summarize this information and send it to me in an email. So that is scraping the website and sending it to an email are not AI activities. They are orchestration activities. Summarizing is an AI activity. And so you're using an agent to combine orchestration and AI to that. So that's level 1. So that's 2.1 of level 2. 2.2 of level 2 is what you actually now see with deep research. Are you familiar with deep research?
Briefly.
So for your audience, deep research is a brand new capability that has come out probably about 2 or 3 months ago. And what it does is that it mimics what we do as humans when we do research. So for example, if I go into deep research, and by the way, OpenAI is by far the best one so far in deep research, I can say, go find me data for X and Y's, XYZ information, right? I want to know market sizing for something. What it will do is it will kick off its own web search. It will go through all the links that it finds relevant. It will read those links. If that link is not relevant, it will stop reading and move on to the next link. So it mimics humans, the way humans do research, right? And then it keeps doing this. And by the way, it takes a long time for it to do that. And when I say long time, we're talking about 20, 25 minutes.
Last time I used deep research, it took like 1 hour. And in the end, the results are actually not that satisfying.
And then I will say that the way you ask questions matter.
So probably this is where I still need to work upon.
So to me, that's level 2 research, level 2 agents. And then level 3 agents are completely autonomous. So remember, in level 2, you're the one still kicking it off, or you have a trigger that kicks off the agent. Level 3 to me is agents of agents. So imagine having one agent that orchestrates multiple agents to do certain things, right? And so to me, those things, I haven't seen any examples of that yet. But you have simple agents that do one task really well again and again. They are level 2, in which they are doing a bit more complex tasks like research, right? Or orchestration. And there's level 3, in which you have agents of agents, in which one agent either kicks off based on a trigger or just kicks off based on whatever's happening.
Another agent asking for his input.
Yes.
I tried to set up one of these flows, and I stopped at creating just a single agent. So there are tools like make.com or n8n.io. I used n8n.io to create this simple flow of, I run a travel agency myself. And like you were saying, for your family, ChatGPT is very good at planning trips already.
Yes.
What it doesn't comply with my business is that I have my own partners. I have my own companies that do transfers, do accommodations, do other stuff. So I feed it all in all these files, the pricing for each operator, and then I can ask via Telegram, hey, give me a plan for 5 days in this place. And they will try to search in all the documentation if there's any options that I already have established partnerships. If not, then they go crazy on the internet and find random solutions, but they try to stick with some rules. So this is kind of an example of,
I think that's a great example. And I think that is where I think agents are moving towards. I still think that we're very much in the early days of agents. And a lot of people are talking about almost anything can be classified in the agent, Pedro.
Yeah.
Because the definition is so wide. But I think we're getting to more like task-specific agents like deep research or orchestration, like you're talking about with make.com. And the other one, of course, is Zapier is doing great stuff with it. There are others like Relay that are doing good stuff. And all of these are basically what we talk about. It's an orchestration engine with an AI in the middle that does something or the other. right?
Yeah, just give tools, give a brain like ChatGPT,
Yeah.
Claude, whatever tool it is, and then
And so
just start
those
performing.
things are, I think those things are coming. I think those things are going to get better and better. I'm
When I
not,
first stumbled upon these, do you know what I thought about? Sorry to interrupt you. I immediately imagine that one day in the future, I'm on LinkedIn, and instead of hiring people, I'd probably be hiring your agent because of all the knowledge you have on product,
Yes.
all this playbook. Instead of just hiring someone that I need to train for this amount of years or create my own playbook, maybe I just say, you know what? I want Mustafa's playbook. You charge per processing power or usage. I don't know. You create
Yeah.
some kind of model on top, and I'm hiring your agent. And then you have an intern that knows all these
Yes.
tasks.
Yeah. It's a great way to monetize. And by the way, Pedro, what you just talked about is completely a different way of how we buy things now. So right now, you have to go onto somebody's website. And so if you're interested in a product or a service, you go to the website, you read their stuff, and then you decide that I want to contact them or not. All of that is friction.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if you can just go to my website, which by the way, I'm trying to experiment with. Imagine you go to the website and you have a chat box saying, I'm Mustafa, ask me anything. And because it's loaded up with all my content and all my articles and so on and so forth, you're gonna get a response. And then if you like my response or not, then you can decide,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I wanna work with him more, or maybe I can hire his agent or whatever that permutation is.
It is very good transition for the last topic that I still want to hear from you, because we
Yeah.
try to keep these episodes within an hour. But I still want to hear your thoughts on it. If I start hiring agents that probably are curated with decades of experience you have, what do you foresee the future for product managers with AI? Do you feel there will be more jobs or less jobs?
This is my favorite question. I'm going to give you a contrary point of view. I personally think that in the future, we're going to need more PMs, not less. And it's a very simple. So in a large organization, or well, in any size organization, what is the hardest thing that an organization does? It is how you build something, right? If you look at budgets, 80% of the budget is spent on engineering and development. And the reason we spend that much money is because building stuff is really hard. It's complex. What happens when building becomes easy?
You lower the cost of entry.
100%. Lower the cost of entry. When building becomes easy, suddenly you don't need all that budget for IT or engineering. But you
Everyone
know
can
what
be a
also
builder.
becomes very hard is deciding what to build. If your cost of entry in any industry becomes lower, the hardest choice that you have is where are you going to go? What is it that you're going to build?
Which is the skill set that PMs try to optimize for, like this
There you go.
acumen of business design technology.
To me, the way our industry is going is that you're going to get to the point in which you can build anything with deciding what to build becomes harder and harder. And deciding what to build, by the way, is uniquely human, which can be empowered by, you can make better decisions by AI, but it's still driven by human decision making. And so for that, you need a product management mindset. So to me, you need more product managers and not less. In fact, you can see some of that happening already. You can see that on the internet right now, you have so much what I call, they call it AI slop, right? It's all the way on LinkedIn, in which just people just go to AI and put something down and they put it down and it's crap.
Vibe coding everywhere.
Right? You're going to have the same problem with software. You're going to have AI slopware. And because people can build anything, they will build it. But the ones who are going to win are the ones who have taken the time to understand the problem,
To curate the prompts, to understand
understand the user, know
what
what
they
to build,
want.
what not to build, uniquely product management skills. And you don't have to believe me. You just have to go to YouTube, by the way. You go to YouTube. The most successful YouTubers are the ones who really have a deep understanding of their audience and know what their audience wants. So when YouTube came along, it made creating video content very easy. Before that, it was a whole production. You had the cameras, you had the lights, you had this, you had that. You got
That's a
an
good example.
iPhone.
Now everyone can put content
Now
out
everybody
there,
can put a
but
video.
not everyone's.
There's a reason why there's YouTubers in which you have people who have millions of followers, and then you have videos in which you have only 2 or 3 followers.
And it's not only production, or barely it is production based.
Yes. And so you see that happening in industry over and over again. And to me, the same thing is going to happen in software. And you're going to need people to know how to decide what to build. And I think PMs are the perfect position to do that. So I personally think that we're going to need more PMs, not less.
I love it.
It's a
Ending the show with
contrarian
that
point of view.
Contrarian positive view for a PM.
Never, no, I have gone into huge arguments with a lot of folks. But I personally think that that is where, this is why, and PM is a unique position in which it requires intuition, it requires creativity, it requires being ambidextrous. You have to be okay with things being nebulous, right? These are all the things that AI is not good at, by the way.
And for anyone listening to us that is not a PM, this is also valid for you because, first, just to give you a personal example, I just joined a company that I'm working for, and I started very recently. And the CTO couldn't wait for me. There was this 2 months lag before we are building a product from scratch. But the CTO is like, I'm just starting it. And just empowered by all these tools, all this brainstorming with ChatGPT, within just with this short period of time, when I finally got into the company, I'm like, this was what I was going to build in the next months. All these product processes that you already done it. So this is also good for if you are a software engineer listening to us, like, learn how to use these tools and start wearing the product management hat.
Yes. In fact,
learn
I
the
see it
processes
already.
we have.
Engineering managers, designers, they're all moving up the value chain, right? Because they see what's happening with their professions, which I think AI allows a designer, an engineer, a product manager, all of them to become more product focused. So I think it's just, to me, I think this is just a matter of time till we see need of more PMs, or need of more the ability to make better decisions about what to build and what not to build, right?
I love it. And let's do it right now for people that are targeting their products towards the audience. I'm asking now the audience, that someone that is listening to us, from what you just heard and saw from Mustafa, do you want us to create like a masterclass on this? Because I feel that, Mustafa, you have so much more to share and to give to the table that just let us know. What are the things that you want to listen more about? Because I feel there's so much knowledge you have on how to better use AI for product managers and people that just want to become founders and build their own stuff.
Yeah.
And I totally love to hear.
Well, you know what? I would love to hear what your audience thinks. In fact, I am thinking about launching a masterclass sometime in November, December. So we would love to have you guys. I would love to get your feedback, what you would like to see, and so on and so forth. In fact, the history of Echo Point started off with, when I left Google, I was, like you said, I was advising a lot of companies, right? And I noticed that the PMs were struggling. And so I said, well, let me help you. Let me figure out how I can use AI to help you make your job better or job easier. And so the genesis of Echo Point really came from that, was me helping 1 or 2 PMs. And then what started off with, you see the playbook that has 200 tasks, right? That playbook started off with like three prompts. And then I started helping more PMs and started helping more PMs. And suddenly the playbook grew and grew. And then one of the PMs that I was coaching that time, like, Mustafa, you should create a masterclass.
Now it's no longer an intern. That playbook of yours is like a CPM.
And so, believe it or not this January, but January of last year, I actually launched a masterclass. And that time, the ability of using AI for product management was such a new concept. Like, I was telling my wife, I'm like, I don't think so anybody's going to sign up for this. And I told her, classic PM, I launched it on Maven. I kind of figured, I told her, I said, listen, if 5 people sign up,
that's my metric of success. Yeah,
that's it, right? And believe it or not, Pedro, I will tell you that within 2 weeks, it was sold out.
I see a lot of demand coming from all these boot camps on how to start.
2 weeks, it was sold out. And that's what started the journey. Now I primarily help product organizations figure out how to use AI for the product team. So I spend a lot of time working with CPOs and trying to figure out how they can up-level their team. But I'm actually thinking about, just based on the conversation we've had with you and others, is that I want to bring back my masterclass. And you know how things go, right? When you have a business, you do certain things and you pivot to something else. But I'm thinking about having just once a year, a masterclass, 2 or 3 weeks. We go deep into each one of these things, right?
And I guess that's the perfect way to wrap this thing.
Yes.
So for people don't lose that insight, where can people find more about you? Where can people tune in to
So-
what you're doing?
I recommend 2 things. Number 1 is echo-point.com. You saw that website that we just had on, and that has everything that we talked about and much, much more about prompts, playbooks, frameworks, you name it, approach structures, which LLMs use, all of that stuff is there. And it's 100% free, so you can use that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I love connecting with people on LinkedIn. So if you're listening to this episode, you like what you hear, shoot me a LinkedIn. I accept all of them. Just tell me that you heard, that you were part of this episode, so I know where you're coming from. But yes, connect with me on LinkedIn is 1, and number 2 is my website itself. And so you can go to the website, you can sign up to the newsletter, and then you get to hear from me every week, which may be a good thing or a bad thing.
From what I just saw, I think that will be wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. That's a wrap for today's episode. I hope
Perfect.
to bring you sometime in the future again for people to get to listen to you again. And for everyone tuning in, don't forget to also follow Productized on LinkedIn, subscribe to the podcast, and leave us a comment with your thoughts on today's episode. We'd love to hear from you. So
Perfect.
Thanks again for listening. And remember,
Awesome.
change is something we can create together. See you in the next episode.
Yes. Pedro, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mustafa. I really, really enjoyed that.